Hey guys, how you doing today? You guys are doing awesome. We are here on day 4. Sorry, I started a little bit later than I initially planned, like right before I was about to click go live. Then the people that go and cut the grass decided they were going to go and cut my grass. And I was like, well, I think it might be helpful if people can hear what I have to say. I'm sure you guys don't want to hear the lawn mowing this entire time, right? So, how you guys doing today? How are you guys feeling at this point? We've talked about a lot in these past 3 days on this challenge. We started out talking about how powerful our beliefs are. We started talking about, what strengths we have that we don't even realize that we have to fight our pain and to stop suffering and to, get unstuck from all of those things. And then yesterday we ended up talking a lot about like the environment, how our environment can help ease our pain and our suffering or how it can make it worse. Today, I wanted to really talk about what I found to be the key to healing from pain, from suffering, and also to get unstuck, because I found that it's been helpful for that too. And that is balance. So, for those of you guys who have been here since the jump, you guys know I've been mentioning this a lot because balance is that important. I've noticed that anytime I felt stuck, anytime the pain was really severe, or it felt like it wasn't going away, or was getting worse, or I felt like you know, I felt like things were never going to get better. I never thought about the fact that there was some imbalance somewhere, but that actually is usually the key. Once I figure out, okay, what is going on in my mind that needs that attention, and what is going on in my mind that is like, okay, like this pain that's been sitting here for like how many months or years, it's finally ready to come up, right? And it's finally ready to be dealt with and healed. I found that no matter what kind of pain that I was in or what like block I was having, if I felt like I was like not making any progress, or I'm trying all these different diets and all these different therapies and that wasn't working, like I thought wasn't working, um, usually there was some sort of like resistance going on in my mind. And remember, we are not our minds. We have a mind, just like we have a body, but we aren't actually our minds. So that means that the thoughts, all those negative thoughts that we're thinking, that's not us. That's just something that's kind of like mulling around in that box. And it usually is something that we learned or picked up from somebody else who didn't know any better, right? And so I found that when I started to deal with these different pains, these different wounds, these different like resistances that I would feel in my mind, that like I felt like conflicted, about like two different like thoughts. I'm like, okay, well, one doesn't make sense. I know this isn't true, but why do I still feel this way? Like those kinds of conflicts. Um, I found it to be very helpful as I started to like deal with them in like my own pace. I found that I kept wanting like everything to be just like, okay, it's all gone like right now. And it doesn't really work that way. I want to remind you that a lot of the pain and the suffering that you're feeling, it didn't just pop up overnight like, holy crap, I am going to go and be a thorn today. A lot of times we've actually built these things over the course of months, like over the course of years, uh, in some cases, decades, and they're all connected to these various different parts. I call them the 5 bodies, but you might resonate more with like 5 different areas of you. You know what I'm saying? I found that I had wounds in the emotional body, so the emotional aspect of me, based on like memories and experiences. Then I had wounds in the mental body, which is like the thoughts, like things that I have been told that I'm like, that like really stood out. Like I still remember how this person said these words to me, like those kinds of wounds, like thoughts and beliefs, which link the two, right? And just in these two areas alone, your body is actually responding to those things. Like your body is actually like listening to that stuff. So when those are kind of like out of balance and they're trying to like come out, because a lot of times if we've been through a painful experience, our mind wants to do anything possible to avoid anything that is even remotely familiar with that experience, right? And I'm talking physical, emotional, mental, it doesn't matter. Your mind handles that stuff the same way. And so then your physical body starts to try and give you signals like, okay, well, I'm hearing that, I have this condition or I am this feeling. So I'm going to produce more of that because the mind, it's programmed to kind of give us more of what we want, right? Then there's the physical body, you have your, the physical pains, the physical ailments that you have, right? And then there's also the spiritual aspect. Depending on your experiences, you might be feeling conflicted about what spiritually is aligning with you and what thoughts you have in your mind or what you've been told or exposed to by other people. That's its own set of pain too. Your body feels and responds to that too. And then they all have like an energetic component to it, but I put energy body in there in case, because for some people, they look at the two as separate. And for me, I was kind of one of those people. I looked at like the energy of it all as kind of separate from like the spiritual and the like. And then I found that they were all connected. So whatever makes sense in your mind, but you see how like they're all connected, and if one area is imbalanced, it starts to bleed into other stuff. And then as you have all this stuff kind of like, you know, bleed into each other and they start to feed off into each other, and then you're storing more and more of this pain in your body because just because something happened, 2 months ago, 2 years ago, 20 years ago, that doesn't mean that it's not in your body if you have not dealt with it, if you've been like avoiding it, you know what I'm saying? Because your mind is really good at avoiding things that are painful, which was great, thousands of years ago when we had to worry about, running into like a mama bear's nest. That was very helpful. It's helpful in those situations where your life is in danger, but most of us feel like our world is ending in situations where our life actually isn't in danger, but the mind can't tell the difference. It can't tell the difference between caveman days and modern society. You know what I'm saying? It's going to respond to what you tell it. And you tell it things based on your thoughts, based on your beliefs, based on your feelings, and also based on just how you perceive a situation, right? So if I am feeling pain in my arm, say I went and had me a procedure, so I expect it to be painful, right? I'm going to go and look at that pain popping up very differently than if I looked at that same pain and I was just like, okay, where did this come from? Or it's always here. You know what I'm saying? There are just so many different perceptions that you can have on one thing. And you're not going to be amplifying your pain if you look at it one way versus another way. You're focusing on it. So, like, you're giving energy to that pain. So you notice it and focus on it more. And then you feel it even more. Now, it's not to say that pain is all in your mind. That is not true. It is to say, though, how imbalance, like if you don't have balance in your body, whether it's in the emotional realm, the mental realm, the spiritual realm, the energetic realm, whether you, notice or agree that you have energy or not, doesn't change the fact and the truth that everything is energy, or the physical aspect, they mix into the other areas. And then you respond to things differently. And that it seems to be the main difference I've noticed between the people who, manage to overcome all these different obstacles and the ones who just let obstacles beat them down. It really comes down to how they perceive it and how they respond to it, like what they do about it. And so there are a lot of different things that you already do to restore balance to your body and restore balance to try and, stop that suffering, to try and stop that pain, to get yourself over that hump, right? The problem kind of comes in when you're not consciously aware of what you're doing, because some of the things that we do to help ease our suffering, help ease our pain, and help turn our lives around, some of them are very helpful. That's exactly what we need. Some of them are not very helpful and they're counterproductive. Some of them are bandages and you have this big gaping wound and you need more than just a little itty bitty kitty bandage. And when we aren't aware of what we're doing, to that is helpful and what we're doing that is not helpful, or if we're not aware of what blocks, like what conflicts, what resistance we're running into that is slowing our progress down to stop that suffering, to stop being stuck, and to stop that pain from taking over our lives, I found I was running in circles, and I that was like one of the biggest issues I had. So I wanted to take the time to share some of the things that I have done that have personally helped me, and some of the things that I've noticed that other people also did who managed to like overcome their pain, overcome that suffering, and overcome being stuck. Because I've noticed a lot of themes. So I wanted to share some of each. So I'll start out with one of the things I've noticed everybody who has like overcome these things, they take it one step at a time, one day at a time. A lot of us, whether we realize it or not, I've been one of those people, have the expectation that things have to be perfect, that there is a specific way, like step by step, like exactly how to do it that works for everybody. And that everything that I try to make my pain better or to come over that hump or to come over that suffering is going to work every single time. And it's going to look a specific way. And that really kind of limits that limits how far you can go, because if you're focused, remember what I said before, Tony Robbins had said, where focus goes, energy flows. So if you are super specific on one way to overcome your pain, or it has to look like this, you see how you're like your filters right here, so you're not seeing all the other areas that might be helpful. You know what I'm saying? So it, like, for me, I initially was super focused on the physical. So I was focused on, okay, I'm going to do this diet. I'm going to go and do this exercise. I'm going to go and do yoga, and I have to do yoga every single day. I have to be perfect at my diet every single day. We're just going to take out everything else and we're just going to focus on this. And there's nothing wrong with doing those things. You know what I'm saying? Like, yoga can help a lot of people. Changing your diet can help a lot of people. That doesn't mean that that is exactly what you need in that time, in that form. And when I started to run into resistance myself was when I was trying to focus on that, and then my emotional trauma started to get in the way because they were ready to be dealt with. And that was the pain that was ready to like be released out of my body. And I was like, nope, nope, nope. I resisted it. Like, I'm pushing that away. Nope, no, we're not focusing on that right now. We're focusing right on this. And so then it will push back even harder. It'll push back even harder. It's like those repelling magnets kind of thing, I think is what I'm trying to say. Maybe. Am I making sense with this? Let me know. I found that I ended up drained and tired because I spent all of my energy fighting what was trying to come out to be released, fighting the pain that was trying to be like, okay, I'm ready to come out now. Like what's going on here? And remember, like I said, don't think that when you have this resistance like this, that you don't want to get better. Because I thought that too. That's not what it is. Remember, the mind is not you. So when you are trying to, like, your true self is like, okay, I'm ready to have some of this emotional pain. I've been holding on to this for like about a year now or plenty, and I am ready to get rid of this. I'm ready to release this out of my body so I can feel lighter. Well, the mind doesn't always know that's what you're doing. And remember, it's different. The mind likes repetition and it likes what's familiar. So if you're focusing on this, oh, hi, Gary. Like, it's so easy to feel like you are literally like boxing with yourself here. And like for me, I found that it was like I was tired. I thought I was tired because, okay, nothing's working. No, I was actually tired because I'm spending all of my energy fighting myself here. I'm spending all of my energy fighting myself instead of just being open to how that pain wants to come out, how that suffering wants to come out, because it's going to come out in different times. And I found that for me and for a lot of other people, they run into issues when they're trying to force it to come out one way where they may not be ready yet. Does that make sense? So, like, some people, you might be ready to go and deal with the physical. You're fully comfortable in your physical body. And that's like, look, we ain't ready to deal with these painful memories yet, but I can go and focus on, okay, let me try taking out or cutting back on the gluten. For y'all autoimmune people, y'all know the anti-inflammatory diet stuff. Or let me try adding in more fruits or try adding in more vegetables. These are just little things that we already do. But if we're not like consciously aware of what we're doing and what's going on, it's easy to write off something as not working when it could just be, this isn't the right time, or I'm fighting my mind to try and make this a habit, to make this familiar. And so some people might be like me. Because of experiences that I have had, I was not comfortable in my physical body at all. In fact, I hated it. That was one of my beliefs that I had in my mind. So no wonder I ran into all these issues, trying to do this yoga, trying to be present in the body, trying to change all these things. That was not what I was ready to deal with. I was ready to deal with some of the thoughts. Some people might be the opposite. They're ready to deal with their feelings. Some people, they're just like, ooh, that's way too much. But you know what I am sure of? I'm sure of my connection to the man upstairs or woman upstairs, whatever you refer to your higher power as. And I can go and talk to them. That's the spiritual aspect. Or you could be kind of like me and was kind of conflicted in all that stuff and be like, well, I can be mindful. I'm comfortable with being mindful. So whatever that looks like to you, whether that's meditation or, working with healing crystals or, so many different things, right? So I kind of lost track of what I was saying. But one of the things that I've noticed is that people who start to overcome those obstacles, they're open to how whatever form that healing is going to come in, and they just let it happen. Now, if you find that you're boxing with yourself, that's totally okay. It happens. It's part of being human, and the mind is doing its job. It's doing what it was programmed to do. And what I found that a lot of other people found helpful, that I found helpful too, is when you have that like resistance, like when okay, I know this is what I want to do. Like I know like doing this one task, one day at a time, every day is good for me. This aligns with me. Like this works. When you get to that resistance, because the mind's going to be like, no, 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 this ain't familiar. Let's not do that. I found that treating your mind like a child has been very, very helpful. Like coaching your mind, if that resonates with you more. I have seen and I have personally experienced, that's my kitty, a lot of people have, when they start to realize that their mind is causing a lot of resistance to what they want and there are a lot of blocks in there, it's very easy for a lot of people to go and like demonize their mind, like make it look like it's the enemy. Now for some people, if you're in a low enough space, if that's what you need to do to get you out of the gutter, so to speak, by all means, do what gets you out of the gutter. But when you are out of that gutter and you're kind of like at a plateau kind of ground, you'll start to find that that approach doesn't make you feel good and doesn't work anymore. Because what kind of happens is after a while, when you start to kind of like demonize your mind, like it's a totally bad thing, and it's like, and you start to shame it, it already has plenty of shame in there, you know what I'm saying, from the people around us who intentionally or non-intentionally, have exposed us to that sort of stuff. So then you start to find that you run into resistance, but it's a totally different type of resistance. And then I personally felt lost, like, where's this coming from? Like, I know that this thought isn't true. And then you start fighting yourself even more. And I find that the mind, it has its own job and it has its limits. So when I started to try and coach myself through when I was stuck like in my mind, and I would feel like I'm drowning, even though there's like that, that part of you that's like above it, that's like, where is all of this coming from? Like, why am I feeling this way? Like that awareness that's like above your mind, but you're still like, the feelings are so strong because you're literally like pushing them away. It's like you're avoiding them, and avoiding does not heal. I've yet to find a single time where avoiding things that are painful helps you heal. Now, this does not mean go and deal with everything all at once. Okay. Rome was not built in a day. You did not get this suffering overnight. You did not get this pain overnight. And while it might feel this way, you did not get stuck overnight either. You didn't. A lot of this stuff is like built up over time. And so as you pick one thing to do, one thing that you can do that is going to balance or restore balance to some part of your body that you're comfortable with. Okay. So, and be patient and don't judge yourself for what that one body might be. You might really want to go and deal with that trauma. That was me. You might really want to go and deal with those painful memories. But if you are not ready, that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. Again, that's a belief in that box. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong that you have to go and fight harder. Everything, I personally believe, happens in its own timing for a reason. And your body, like the smart part of your body, like your spirit, it already knows what needs to come out right now. And sometimes you need to have other things flow and come out, and you need to balance other areas first for you to be at that place like, okay, now I'm ready to go and do that. Like I found when I started to deal with my thoughts, the thoughts that block me, the thoughts that I don't want, like I'm always in pain, like I'm always going to be suffering, this is never going to end, those like loops, that get stuck in your head. When I started dealing with that, because I was ready to, then I was able to tap into those negative emotions that would always overwhelm me, that I wasn't ready to deal with first, because I didn't even know what thoughts were causing it. So I just was like, if it was any sort of sadness, nope. Anger, no, we can't be angry. Like all that stuff was hidden because I wasn't even aware what thoughts were like popping up in my mind. But not everyone's that way. Some people are more comfortable in their bodies and they can just be like, ooh, I'm feeling some heart palpitations. Ooh, I'm feeling some tension here. Ooh, I got a headache. Like they're really in tune with their bodies that way. And that's how they get clues about what pain really needs to be dealt with right now. And I found that when you start wherever you need to be, things are going to flow so much easier. You're going to have a much easier time as far as healing. And when you deal with one body, just doing one thing, you get to see, okay, that is working. I'm noticing these shifts right here. I'm noticing these shifts in these other areas that like I was afraid or not comfortable to work with yet. And so I'm like, well, okay, now I'm kind of ready to go and step into the physical aspect a little bit. I'm like, I'm ready to dip my toes in that water a little bit. And then there is something that I can do in that area. But by the time I get to this area, I've already got me a habit that I like. And the thing is, too, when you take this approach, everyone that you can't go wrong if you're going with something that authentically already aligns with you. So many of us are told to, okay, you got this problem, go do this. Or, oh, you got this chronic condition, just change your diet. You know, and sometimes that's not in alignment with what you need and what's authentic to you. How many people do you know who go and try a medication just because everybody is saying to try it, not because they're like, yeah, I think this might work. Or, oh, yeah, I know this one's going to work if you're really in tune with your intuition. You know, I find that people who manage to overcome whatever keeps them stuck, overcome their pain, overcome their suffering, they are constantly working to connect with themselves, like their intuition, because a lot of us we suffer from pain sometimes because we're listening to everybody else but except ourselves, right? Like it doesn't have to be that way. We all have different fingerprint DNA for a reason, and our bodies all respond to different treatments and different lifestyles for a reason. And that's one of the reasons why, for me, it was so important to emphasize that it's going to look different for everybody. I've been there. I've been like in my mind, and my mind, you know, the mind's very linear. It likes to be in control of things. So it likes to know exactly this is going to work every single time. That's part of the mind. But healing doesn't work that way. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't always work that way. And so I wanted to really come up with a way to help people be able to come up with their own, you know, come up with their own kind of plan. So, not that you don't ever work with professionals, that you never work with doctors, you don't work with coaches, I'm not saying any of that. What I find is missing for people, including myself, when I was in that space, is that I was not connected with my intuition. I was not doing one thing at a time to bring balance to my body. And my life ended up being a reflection of that, you know, later on down the line. And I'm wondering why everything else is starting to look so abysmal, you know? So, one of the other things that I've noticed that people who do manage to overcome their pain, their suffering, overcome being stuck, other on top of being open, you know, to how that healing is going to look like, they also focus on restoring balance without judgment. Like they take more of an observer approach. So a lot of us will go and try something, and we have been taught very well to be critical of ourselves or of whatever isn't working. So either we're pointing the finger at why things are not working, or we're internalizing and pointing the finger at ourselves and feeling bad because, you know, XYZ didn't work out. And one of the hardest muscles for me, and I think this is true for a lot of people, is learning to observe what's going on with you, whatever that looks like, without judgment. That is very, very difficult, especially when you are used to patterns in your mind and you're used to being told everything that's wrong with you, everything that you're doing wrong, everything that people wish you would do or could do, all those things that make you feel bad as a person. But I found that every person that whose story I've read about, who's managed to heal themselves, who's managed to get unstuck, who's managed to stop suffering and really like be happy, be fulfilled in life, all of them have one thing in common, and that is that they observe what's going on with them without judgment. So when they notice that thought, and they notice, even if they notice that they do judge themselves, they don't judge themselves for judging themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not doubling that bad compound interest. You know what I'm saying? And so that stops the process of you storing more negative stuff in your body because you're not doubling your criticism on yourself. You're not doubling your criticism on what is working and what's not. You're literally just looking at where you're at, which is literally shining a light on the things that have been hidden for a long time. And it really helps for you to keep from being overwhelmed, keep from defeating yourself. You know what I'm saying? And it really helps to bring you in a space like, okay, this is what I'm noticing. All right, I'm seeing this as a pattern. What do I want to do about it? Not what should I do about it. Remember, should have shame. Not what do I have to do about it? Because I find if you add that urgency, that's putting you back into that survival, fight, or flight response in the mind, and that doesn't help heal. That helps keep you alive, but you're already alive right now. So let's bring the focus back to healing. You know, it's really important when you start to go and heal. And then another thing too that I've noticed with myself and with other people that I know who have managed to thrive no matter what's happening is that they they are aware of and start to kind of detach from their expectations that don't serve them. Okay. So if you are expecting that this treatment is going to fail, it's going to fail because you're not going to do everything that you possibly can to help it heal. You're giving this energy that's negative, and negative energy does not heal. Letting it go heals, but cultivating it and strengthening it does not, right? And, it also impacts how you even perceive that thing. One of the things that I've noticed as I have been, restoring balance to myself and I've started my healing journey and have gotten to a point where, I remember I used to think I would never get off of medications. And I'm not on any medications right now, and it's been that way for months. It's not like a week-long little fluke here. But, before when I had that belief that I would never be able to get off meds and I would never be able to, um, have kids because of my physical condition, well, yeah, if I believe that, I'm certain about it. So my body's gonna be like, yeah, she's right. Let's produce more of that. It's that powerful. And so when you start to put expectations, because that's one of the side effects I've noticed with beliefs is when you have these negative beliefs, you put expectations about how certain things are going to go. And expectations lead to disappointment because you're focusing on things coming out a specific way. So you're focusing on your healing or your pain to need to be healed a specific way, which completely ignores the timing, it ignores the circumstances, and sometimes they're not realistic, you know? A lot of times for me, when I started to deal with these different bodies, when I started first with my mental body, it brought up a lot of emotional pain. And see, if I had the expectation that, you know, healing is going to be a blissful experience all the time, and then that emotional pain came up, I would have looked at it like, oh, this is making it worse. Oh, let's just avoid all that, because that's how the mind would process it. When it really was, okay, this emotional pain has been stored in my body for a long time. It's coming up to the surface, just like oil and water. It's coming up to the top so it can be released into the air, into the light, into all of those things. So you're not holding on to it anymore. Healing is not a pain free experience. But I find that the results of healing is way more pleasant and less pain in the long run. You know what I'm saying? I had some very stagnant kind of patterns in my physical body. If we go to the physical aspect of stuff, I was reading this book by a holistic chiropractor, and I'll put that link in here too, because it's really good about how energy can impact the physical body, like with the meridians, but also how if your brain, like the organ, so we're not talking the mind here, we're talking the brain with the organ. There's two parts of it. There's the central nervous system, which I'm sure some people have heard that term before, but then there's the autonomic nervous system. That's the part of the brain that handles all the automatic stuff we do without thinking. So your heart beating, your breathing, your blood pressure, all those things. When that autonomic or automatic part of your brain is imbalanced and it controls all of the automatic things that you do, throws your whole body out of balance, changes the way you walk, changes the balance in, your muscles. So then people can start getting, muscle spasms. People can start getting these pains and stuff because literally the flow of everything is off, and you have kinks and bends, where there wasn't initially kinks and bends, and then you end up stuck in this fight or flight survival type physical state. Now, what does that do to your mind? What does that do to your pain? What does that do to your suffering? I don't think it's helpful. I don't think it's helpful. So this really, it's really that, it's that connected. So when I went to go and see the chiropractor, because I was just like, dude, this book is on point, I'm going to go and actually see you. I went and, had my first sessions. And one of the things that I was told was, you might feel pain in random places. Sometimes it's going to feel like you're going to feel pain in some areas get worse, and then it's going to start to subside, because what you're doing is you're basically breaking patterns that you don't like, and we're restoring and bringing in new ones, basically. So it's similar to that analogy I was telling you with like the oil and the water. The oil floats up to the top, and then once it floats up to the top, it's easy for it to spill out of the cup and, be resolved, right? And it's the same thing with healing from pain, especially if it's pain you've been holding on for a long time. And I found, for me personally, I can speak from my own experience, the pain like sensations of like these painful things, whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally, coming up to the surface to be released, it didn't even hold a candle to the levels of pain I had from trying to stuff and hold on and keep all that pain in my bodies. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it was totally worth that temporary sensation. And I noticed, because I had worked on my thoughts and my beliefs, I would feel it. Like, say, I feel like a random shooting pain, in my hand. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm releasing. I'm having more and more pain being released out of my body. That's a very different way of looking at it than, ooh, okay, this pain wasn't here before. Things are not working. You see how like all this stuff can go and connect, and then you respond differently. So then you stop doing what was actually helpful for you. It's a very complex kind of game. And I think for me personally, I can't speak for everybody else, but for me, that was why it took so long. It took so many years of me trying to figure out all these different things because I was trying to figure it out on my own. I wasn't going to and looking for the people who managed to succeed in, changing their lifestyle so they didn't suffer anymore, so they didn't feel like they were always in pain, and so they felt like they were stuck. I wasn't going to the people who managed to figure things out because I always thought that belief, there's some sort of catch. Okay. Yeah, I don't fully believe that. There's something they're not sharing, because I had the other belief and question, well, why, if this is what it takes to be better, why aren't they talking about it at the doctor's appointments? Why aren't people talking about that more often? Why am I not seeing it more often? Because it's not being talked about. I went to nursing school. So, nursing tends to be known for being more holistic in terms of like some of the various groups of medical professionals, right? It's known for having a very holistic approach. We are not even taught that. We're not. So, do you think a lot of doctors are being taught that? Do you think they're telling, and some of us nurses too, a lot of professionals, we're taught all we can do is just hope that it doesn't get worse. Once you get this condition, it ain't going away. You hear the language, you hear the energy. This is what a lot of patients are being told. And, a lot of patients, we look up to our professionals because they went to school for that. Just because people go to school for something doesn't mean that they're taught everything that's out there. That's why we're always researching. That's why new research is always coming out about different things, right? And so that was my I am enough alarm. Highly recommend you try that. Some sort of compliment, like put it as your alarm so you can read it and see what that does for you. But anyway, and it's not that people don't know what they're talking about, but I just want you to kind of look at it like this. If we're not taught this, or it's lightly glazed over, which happens a lot, actually. And then we go and tell people who look up to us what we've been taught. So once you get this condition, and it could be like a mental health one, like PTSD, depression. It could be one like a physical one, like rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia. And it's like, well, once you get it, there's not much we can do, but we can try and control it. We can try and hope these medications help with symptoms and keep things from getting worse. Do you hear that energy? Does that make someone feel like they can change? And then they go to a support group and see other people who have the condition or who have these issues who've been told the same thing. And so they're perpetuating what they've been told and what they've learned. Well, all we can do is just we hope that it can get better. You try all these different meds and hope it can get better. And not to say every single support group is like that. I will say though, every single support group I've been in has people who are in that headspace. So you're getting all these different messages, and then you're not seeing people, be able to overcome these obstacles as much because your filter is on what you've been exposed to and what you pick up on and what you believe. So then if you take that in as a belief that you can't get better, you're not looking for people who are doing better. It's not in your filter. And then when you do, you're looking at a lens with this certain belief, I can't get any better. And you're thinking that the only way to help things is through medications only because that's what's taught to a lot of people. And so when people do share their stories, you're thinking, okay, what's the catch? What's the angle? Again, that's the mind, but so many people identify with the mind that they go with that. So then you go and question when people do share what is working and what's not, and when people go and say and talk about things that aren't traditionally taught. So these conversations are not happening a whole lot. And then you're geared towards the familiar conversations. When people go and mention things like, you know, the power of your beliefs, the power of your mind, like your mind can really help or hurt your pain. You know, it's one thing to have that knowledge, but it's another thing to really connect with the gravity of the situation with that, right? Or when someone's talking about the importance of balance, a lot of Eastern cultures, they've been talking about this stuff for I can't count how many years, many centuries, many thousands of years. And you hear some people, they go and hear that stuff and they're like, you see how they push it off? Because it's not what's familiar to them. It's not what they're seeing. And what I am saying and offering is that the more these conversations are happening, the more we talk about these things that aren't being taught in K through 12, that are not being taught in college, that are not being taught in traditional conventional medicine, that aren't being taught necessarily in a lot of different families. The conversations and the sharing of these things, that is what starts to bring change in. And I have a very good feeling you're going to start to see, as time goes on, you're going to see more and more people be able to heal and heal a lot faster, to the point where sitting there suffering for a whole lifetime doesn't start to be the norm anymore, like a lot of people believe is the norm. You know what I'm saying? And so I am super excited to offer you guys my approach. Everybody has a different way. So if you guys checked out Megan McNeely from day that I mentioned on day one, her approach was very holistic mind, body, spirit too. And her approach and what helped her heal from her kidney cancer and rheumatoid arthritis. Yeah. Yeah. Things that everybody's told that you can't get rid of. She's thriving, but she did it in her own way. And the theme of it all was still restoring balance. I found that saying to be true for me, and I found that theme to be the same and true for every person I've talked to, whether they are like renowned or they're someone that I happen to have the pleasure to meet on Facebook somewhere. And you look at them and be like, you used to have that condition? Really? Like you wouldn't have never been able to tell, and more people are starting to come out and share their story. And I think that's wonderful. But balance is that important. So I am super excited to share my approach and my approach to being able to get off my medications that helped me get the weight loss that I've been wanting, that I gave up on. I did. I gave up. I tried for 3 years to try and lose 10 pounds. And when I started to just restore balance to this body and then this one step at a time, each day, one area at a time, in some sort of way, whether I'm in a flare or not, there's something that you can do, and just keep making those habits, changing the lifestyle that way with a focus on restoring balance. I started to see changes in my life. So then I'm like, I'm more confident when I talk to people. I was the kid who went and hid behind my parents when a new kid showed up because I was afraid of them. Like when I go and talk about these things because I'm so passionate about it, you wouldn't be able to tell I was an introvert. I've been told by several people that they're surprised that I'm an introvert, and I am. Like that I recharge a lot within myself. But when you start to restore balance, that doesn't mean you have to put yourself in this box and you're just shy and afraid to talk to people, you know? So it changes all of those things. So then my interactions with other people changed. That changed my opportunities that popped up my way. That changed the way I looked at things. That changed and strengthened my resilience to things. It changed my entire career. It changed so many different things. And now I'm working on myself so that way I will be ready for the relationship that I deserve, the romantic relationship I deserve. There's a lot of different things that it just has a really wonderful domino effect. And so if you are interested in this way resonates with you, like, yes, I want to go like one thing at a time so I don't get overwhelmed for like 30 days at a time so I can build this habit and then go and stack other habits that I like on top of these while I'm breaking habits that I don't want and really restoring balance to the mental part of you, the emotional, the spiritual, the energetic, and the physical, so you can thrive no matter what's going on in your life. So you can get past these barriers that feel like making you feel like you're stuck. So you don't have to have those thought loops of things are never going to get better anymore. I've been there. Okay. I've been there. I've been in the emergency room because of them. And on and off all of last year. And it was not because of COVID and was not always because of a physical issue, though most of them was because I kept getting ailment after ailment after ailment. You don't have to be in that space anymore. You don't have to stay in that headspace. You don't have to accept that. And so if you want to go through my process that really helped me turn my life around, and this was all in the course of 7 months, in the course of 7 months, I lost the will to live in November 2020, and I was in a totally different headspace by May of 2021. And now in July, it's still going. I have created a program that not only breaks down the exact steps, and they're three simple steps on how to restore balance to a body, like 30 days at a time. I go over how to break them down because some of us are not in a place, some of us are in a place where 30 days, ooh, that's a long time down the road. Okay, well, we can break it down in different ways. The tools that I have used that have helped me, the tips that I have that have helped me get over obstacles and get over those humps when you start to feel like things aren't working, and how to help reconnect with your intuition, because that is another huge part of restoring balance is you're connecting with your intuition more so than you connect with your mind, right? And being able to have these conversations with your healthcare providers, with your coaches, with your therapists. This is one of those things where you do not have to have a diagnosis. You don't have to wait on a specific appointment to start doing something in your life to go and restore balance and make you feel better. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to wait on that. They can certainly help you. I'm all for partnering with your medical professionals, your holistic professionals. I'm all for doing that. I did that myself in most of these areas. That being said, I started with something I could do myself. So I start, like, for example, with the trauma stuff. Oh, yeah, I did go and work with therapy on that, regular talk therapy, and I did EMDR therapy. Those are very helpful. But it started with me being aware of my thoughts because I was more comfortable with my thoughts. For those of you guys who are more comfortable with your feelings, starting with, oh, I'm noticing that. Like, I see you. Like, I keep repeating this each day because it's that important. You can go and start to notice the patterns, right? That's one thing you can do, whether you are able to get up and walk around or you're bedbound in a flare, to start noticing what thoughts, what headspace, what beliefs are popping up for you, what's going on in your physical body. There's so many different things that you can do. And if you just choose one to work on every day for 30 days, you're building a muscle. You're building a mental muscle. You're breaking an old habit, which is letting things happen and not being aware. And you're building a new one that helps you, which be like, I see you. And then what are we going to do about it, right? So this is not something where it's going to say, do this specific activity, do that specific activity. This is not going to be something that, oh my gosh, you are going to be like promising these different results in all this time, because everybody's different and you're going to have to go and be patient with your own pacing. You know what I'm saying? So What I am offering though with this course is that is a blueprint on what has worked for me and how you can figure out and brainstorm and start to connect with what authentically you need, how your healing may end up looking like, you know, pinpointing what things are getting in the way and slowing down your healing progress. Because I'm telling you, you do not have to go and sit there and suffer for 50 plus years to start to feel halfway better. That is a myth. It is not real. That is a belief that I chose not to hold on to anymore. Okay. So for this, if this resonates with you and this is a approach that you really want to go and take in, like I said, this is something that will work whether you're in a flare or not. It doesn't matter which body, you start out with, you're going to start to see shifts if you are consistent and stick with the process and have compassion for the process and patience and compassion for yourself. It's going to be giving yourself that love that you're looking for in other people, that you're expecting from other people, you know, and knowing where to start, having some ideas on where to brainstorm. If you have no idea where you even want to start as far as restoring balance to these different parts of your body and your life, that's what this course is for. It's to really help give you a blueprint that I've personally found helpful to have a more targeted approach on, okay, I'm going to do this one thing so I don't have to feel overwhelmed. I'm going to make that one thing a habit, right? I'm going to be noticing what shifts happen in these other areas of my life as I'm working on this so I can go and strengthen this thing. And I'm doing it because it lines with me, not because everybody else is telling me to go and do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, just can you imagine the confidence to be able to go and see your providers or whoever you're working with, or go and talk with your loved ones and be like, I'm doing this, instead of feeling like I'm drowning everywhere? No, I'm doing this. I am focusing on this. I am making this a habit. Do you hear the difference in the energy, in that confidence? I can always have that, and I would have never imagined that I could start to see shifts and changes as fast as I did. So, if you are ready to stop suffering and start thriving, and my approach to putting this all together and getting that jump start to changing your life, because again, this is not a quick fix. You are literally changing your lifestyle. You are getting rid of the stuff in your current lifestyle you don't want, and you're replacing it with the stuff in your lifestyle that you do want. Here is the link that I'm going to leave here. I find that the people who manage to get unstuck, who manage to overcome the pain, who manage to, stop suffering, they invest in themselves. I think a lot of us have been taught to go and give and give and give to everybody else, right? And there's nothing wrong with giving to other people. The problem is when it's not balanced, as I keep saying, and then you don't give to yourself. So then what you end up doing is that you're giving other people a lesser version of yourself. I don't always think about it that way at all, but it's the truth. If you are not fully filled yourself, if you are not giving yourself what you need, you're not giving your best self to the people that you love, and they deserve better just like you do. We all deserve to see the best you. And I find that, that's one of the biggest barriers in the mind is that, like I said, this thought that things have to look a certain way, right? And so the people who manage to overcome these things, they invest in themselves. It is not selfish to invest in yourself. That is another belief that I had in my box that I know I'm not alone on. It is not selfish to invest in yourself. And when you invest in yourself, you're doing it one or two ways or both. You're investing your time, or you can invest energy in the form of finances. I found the best results doing both. I love investing my time because time is precious. But again, time is precious. So I don't know about you guys, but I would rather go and learn from someone who's already done this and who's already gotten the results that I want so I can get there faster, have less pitfalls, less frustration, and end up spending less money in the long run on all these different things, trial and error that don't work, than to go and figure out everything on my own and never go and reach out for that support. I also found that not only when I go and make an investment in some sort of result, like you're investing in your transformation, you can do it with time, but you're also, when you go and invest in some sort of service that resonates with you, something that is like, yes, this resonates with me. This is going to get me to from where I am now to where I want to be that much faster. When you go and you make that investment, it's because it's investment, not a cost. That's another belief. If you look at it as a cost, then, it takes away the transformation of it all. You're telling yourself, because remember, when you do things with your body, not just with the mind, you're telling your mind, I'm serious about this. We're making this change. I know it's unfamiliar to you. I know you're going to be uncomfortable, but we're making this change. This is where I want to go. It's kind of like commanding your mind, And so, like I said, whether that answer is my approach, whether you guys find someone else whose approach is like that resonates with you, I still highly encourage you to make a decision. That is the best thing that you can do for yourself. Yay or nay. Do not sit there on the in the middle, maybe, because on the maybe fence, you don't do anything. You know what I'm saying? I want you to really take this time to commit to yourself. So, like I said, if you are really resonating with the approach that I have shared with you on how to restore balance to your body so you can go and get over those humps, get over that pain, be able to live a lifestyle that you are proud of, that is authentic with you, and you are ready to go and make an investment that is way less than your x-rays, your MRIs, the rheumatology visits, then I want you to go and click on the link that I just posted on the course, Stop Suffering, Start Thriving. I'm telling you, you are going to see such huge shifts if you follow the process and stay consistent. And, the cost factor of it all, it's $120. Think about how much money you spend on your medications, how much money you spend on trying different things that don't work, how much money you spend and how much they charge when you go and look on your explanation of benefits to go and see the doctor and for like 20 minutes, and you may end up getting something that resonates with you, you may not. What is that transformation worth for you? That's really my biggest thing. What is that transformation worth to you? Is it worth another 20 plus years of trying to figure everything out on your own, or is it worth taking in that time and that commitment to go and have that support so you can go and learn from people who have managed to succeed in turning their lives around? It's really, how important is this to you? There you go. How important is this to you? So again, I'm really proud to be able to offer this to you. And whether this ends up being something that resonates with you or you already got what you needed from this challenge, either one is fine. I just want you to know that and remind you that you are worth it. You don't have to be in pain all the time. You don't have to suffer all the time. You know, your healing is important, and you're worthy enough to go and receive the healing that you need. You have to go out there and really make a commitment and go and, you know, immerse yourself in what you want, you know? So, with that said, I got time for a couple more questions here. So, let me go and get a couple of questions answered here. I'm hoping that you guys can still hear me. People are still doing the little weed whacker stuff outside. So, I'm hoping that you guys can still hear me, by the way. You know, that would be awesome. Let's see. What questions do we have here? How do I start to restore balance to myself when I'm feeling tired all the time? That's a really good question. So again, energy is something that you always have. And what I find, because I also had fibromyalgia and struggled with chronic fatigue all the time for a couple of years. What I found was true for me was that it's not that I had no energy, it's that the energy that I had was being siphoned off, like redirected somewhere else that I didn't want it to. And so it didn't leave me with a lot left. So, where's your focus? Where's your focus? Because wherever your focus is, that's a good clue as to where your energy is actually going. So when it comes to like your balance and healing, like restoring balance in your body, is your focus on that, or is your focus on I'm tired all the time? Is your focus on the solution, or is your focus on the problem? If your focus is on the problem, that doesn't leave you with much left to focus on the solution. So paying attention and really start with figuring out, again, I see you, I see you, that awareness. Where is your attention and your focus on just throughout the day? Is your focus on all of these different problems? Is your focus on your pain? Is your focus on the fatigue? Is your focus on a belief that you're never going to get any better? Is your focus on like some sort of like survival mode? Are you in that sort of headspace? Most of us are, even when we're tired. A lot of us are in a survival headspace, and we're just absolutely overly fatigued. You know? Hi, Dudley. Dudley says hello. So that would be my first tip to start to really notice and get some of your energy back, is to notice where is it going. And then once you know where your energy is going, you know, where do you want to redirect some of it instead? Like I said, this is not going to be like a quick fix overnight thing. But as you consistently a little bit each day, a little bit each day, make it a habit. So once it becomes a habit, it doesn't feel like it's taking a lot of energy to do, because it's just automatic. Your mind's on board, like, yeah, let's do this, you know? So that's one of the things that I found helpful. When I redirected my focus from my problems, because again, a lot of times we're not balanced. All we think about is our problems. All we focus on is our problems. What if we directed some of that towards solutions? So even if you don't know what to do about the energy, what about focusing on, okay, well, I know this is a problem, but I know I'm going to feel better. Now, yes, those are two conflicting beliefs, but you see how you're starting to strengthen the one that you want? I know that I'm going to get better. I know that there are ways to get more energy. I know that there are ways that I know that, you know, I'm on a healing journey. Just recognizing that you're on a healing journey, even with all of these problems. I'm still on a healing journey. Start redirecting some of your focus to those kinds of thoughts that you want, and see what shifts you notice with your energy. Because that's what ended up happening with me with my energy problems. Your girl used to be so tired she could not stay awake to go and drive 10 minutes to the store. My ex-husband had to go and drive me every single day. And when I started to shift my focus from, oh my gosh, like I can't do this, I can't do that. This is a problem. This is a problem. This is a problem. My pain, my fatigue, my suffering. When I started to direct some of that focus, because this is not going to be a, oh, I'm just going to drop it all. You've been doing it for too long. Okay. It's you're breaking the habit by taking some of that focus from there and starting to give some of that focus to what you want or what you're already at. Like, I am on a healing journey. I might have pain here, fatigue there. I'm on all these meds, but I'm on a healing journey. The energy is totally different. So that is big. And like I said, do you have to be physically up and running sprints and stuff to go and do that? No, you don't. It's there's always something that you can do. And when we start to really know where we're at in our mind, it's going to make it a lot easier to be able to handle and nurture and coach ourselves through things instead of just letting a mental program that we picked up that isn't even ours go and beat us down. You know what I'm saying? So it starts out with awareness. Let's see. And then one more. What do we get with the Stop Suffering, Start Thriving course? So you get the step-by-step process on how I ended up managing to balance one body at a time. So you're going to learn how to figure out what body to start balancing or what area to start balancing. You're going to find this one is very like internally self-focused. And the reason why my program works that way is because I've learned time and time again that everything comes back to the self. So when you start to balance these different areas of your body, when you start to bring balance to the emotional, the mental, the physical, the spiritual, the energetic body, you're going to start to see its effects because it's an energetic thing outside of your life, like around you. You're going to be different in how you perceive things, how you respond to things. And because you're responding to things different, other people are going to respond to things different. You're going to see situations differently. You're going to be able to see through the fog that's in your mind to be able to see what's really going on. So you're not going to stop something that's healing midway because of all the fog in the mind. You'll be like, no, this is part of the process. It's uncomfortable, but it's part of the process. You're going to be able to deal with your own mental resistance better. So we go over that. If you try something and that's authentic to you and it doesn't end up working the way you want it to, and maybe something else was more appropriate at that time, we're going to talk about how to overcome the mind with that stuff too. If you don't know where to start, I have a list of all of the different things in each body that I have tried that was very helpful for me. You're going to have a lot of different resources. You're going to learn the best way for you to go and break down these plans. I did it 30 days at a time, but some people 30 days is a way long ways down the road. So different ways that you can break up your plans, right? And then also how you can partner and have these conversations with your doctors, with your nurses, with your healthcare providers, because if you don't have that conversation with them, that's going to limit how they help you. Okay. Sometimes you're on this one track and they're on another track, and you guys are you're at the same goal, which is to help you feel better, but your methods and your approaches are not the same. And I can say this personally as a nurse, we cannot help you so much if we don't know what direction you're trying to go. So if you come to me, you tell me, look, I'm trying this diet change. Okay, that's going to go and impact what we go and recommend. We might be like, oh, okay, well, since you're trying that, what do you think about doing this med instead? Or what do you think about holding off on this med and see how the diet works first? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a totally different conversation than you just coming in and you don't share what you're trying to do, and then we're stuck having to guess, so we're assuming you're not doing anything and you just want us to go and suggest something and hope that it works. You know what I'm saying? Like, these conversations are that important. So you get all of those things. I have plenty of other bonus videos and tips, because it's mostly videos on how to deal with pain and life at the same time, how to deal with pain and anxiety at the same time, because those things contribute to a lot of the fog that's in our minds, all these different things. And then if you are interested at that point in taking it to the next level, then there would be the option of working together on your actual like specific plans. But right now, this course is just like to get you started. You know what I'm saying? And the purpose of this is for you to really build your own lifestyle that is authentic to you. You're getting rid of all the stuff you don't want in your life, and you're bringing in all the stuff and strengthening the stuff that you do want in your life. And how to do that, in broken down like intervals. You know what I'm saying? So this isn't something that you just do for 30 days and bam, we're done. You're building and stacking different habits. You're building that good compound interest, and you're doing it in a way that's authentic to you. So you can never be like, man, you know what I'm saying? If you're doing something that's authentic to you, you're going to feel good about it, right? And if and you try these different things, and then you go and share it with your support people, your support team, whether it's your therapist, your coach, your doctor, that helps them better help you, because then they don't have to guess at what you're trying to do. Because you'd be surprised how many people don't really talk about what they're trying to do. That's still not as common as I would like to see it. And once I started sharing, look, I'm going this direction, my doctor. Oh, okay, well, let's do this instead. Then since we're going this direction, then why don't we go and do this instead of this? Because then they don't have to guess at what you want or what you need or what you're trying to do. And then we also break down into your why. Because if you remember and know why you truly want to heal, deeper than I just want to feel better. There's a reason. There's some sort of experience that you want or you don't want to have that is propelling you forward. And we're going to figure that out, because once you know your why, when you run into obstacles, when things don't work out the way you want it to, that's going to keep you going. It's going to keep you fueled as long as you remember your why. So you get all of that, all of those different tools, all of that support. And for $120, that's way less than, what you would pay for your surgical procedures, less than what you would pay for your MRIs, those of you who needed MRIs, your x-rays, when I looked up my explanation of benefits on how much it costs for me to go and see my rheumatologist, it was like $400. And I was like, for one visit? Excuse me? So again, what are you willing to invest? Are you only going to invest your time and kind of limit yourself and slow down your own progress? Or are you going to invest the time and the resources to get where you want faster? So this was a really, really good discussion. Like I don't hear balance be discussed enough, or it's discussed, but it's more like a theme instead of just outright talking about how important balance is in your life. And I'm telling you, every issue I've run into, it's come down to balance. So it's not good. It's a lifetime kind of thing that's going to be like a part of your journey. So, why not make that journey a lot smoother, right? So for those of you guys who are on VIP, about to hop on over in about 15 minutes to the Zoom call so I can go and answer more of you guys' questions. And with that said, I see you, I hear you, I honor you, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. So tomorrow, the challenge is all about doing things different, taking action. Because sometimes we can be in the mindset like, yeah, we want to go and do XYZ, but then like when it's time to get up on stage and go and actually do it and follow through, kind of start to fall back a little bit. So we're going to focus on that tomorrow. And with that, I love you guys, and I will see you guys next time.